Imagine a nation that did not even exist 250 years ago. A land of forests, rivers, and scattered colonies under British rule. Today, that same nation leads the world's largest economy, possesses one of the most powerful militaries ever built, and influences politics, technology, culture, and global finance. This is the incredible story of the United States of America. But how did America become the world's only superpower? Was it because of its military? Was it because of its economy? Or was it the result of centuries of innovation, strategic decisions, and historical events that changed the world forever? From a small group of colonies fighting for independence to becoming the most influential country on Earth, America's journey is filled with revolutions, wars, economic booms, scientific breakthroughs, and global leadership. In this documentary, we will explore every major turning point that transformed the United States into the most powerful nation in modern history. This is not just the story of America. It is the story of how the modern world was shaped. Let's begin. Long before the United States existed, North America was home to millions of indigenous people. They lived in diverse societies with their own cultures, languages, and traditions. Everything began to change after Christopher Columbus's voyage in 1492. Although he never reached the land that is now the United States, European exploration accelerated. Spain, France, and Britain all competed to expand their influence in North America. In the early 1600s, Britain established permanent colonies along the Atlantic coast. Over time, 13 colonies grew into thriving communities. Farming, trade, and new towns fueled their development. Yet these colonies remained under British control. The British Crown imposed taxes and laws, while the colonists had little say in how they were governed. Tensions rose after the costly 7 Years' War. Britain introduced new taxes, including the Stamp Act and the Tea Act. Many colonists believed that paying taxes without representation in Parliament was unfair. Their frustration became a powerful movement. One of the most famous moments came in 1773, when protesters boarded British ships in Boston Harbor and dumped tea into the water. This event became known as the Boston Tea Party. Britain responded with stricter measures, but instead of ending the resistance, they united the colonies even further. In April 1775, fighting broke out at Lexington and Concord. The American Revolutionary War had begun. 1 year later, on July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. It announced that the colonies were no longer part of the British Empire. A new nation had taken its first step onto the world stage, but its greatest challenges still lay ahead. Declaring independence was only the beginning. The 13 colonies now faced the greatest military power of the 18th century, the British Empire. To lead the Continental Army, the colonies chose George Washington, a skilled military commander known for his determination and discipline. The war was long and difficult. The American army struggled with shortages of food, weapons, and supplies. Many soldiers endured harsh winters, including the famous winter at Valley Forge, where survival itself became a daily challenge. Despite these hardships, the Americans refused to surrender. Their determination, combined with support from France, gradually shifted the balance of the war. The decisive moment came in 1781 at the Battle of Yorktown. American and French forces surrounded the British Army, forcing General Charles Cornwallis to surrender. 2 years later, in 1783, the Treaty of Paris officially recognized the independence of the United States. A new nation had been born. But winning independence was only the first challenge. The country now needed a stable government. In 1787, leaders gathered in Philadelphia to draft the United States Constitution. It established a new system of government built on checks and balances, the rule of law, and the separation of powers. In 1789, George Washington was unanimously elected as the first president of the United States. His leadership helped build trust in the young republic and laid the foundation for its future. America was no longer just a collection of former colonies. It had become an independent nation with a vision that would shape history. After gaining independence, the United States faced a new challenge: growth. The young nation had freedom, but it needed land, resources, and a stronger economy. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson made one of the most important decisions in American history. The United States purchased the vast Louisiana Territory from France for $15 million. This agreement, known as the Louisiana Purchase, nearly doubled the size of the country and opened the door to westward expansion. Explorers Meriwether Lewis and William Clark were sent to map the new territory. Their expedition revealed rivers, mountains, forests, and opportunities that would shape the nation's future. As settlers moved west, new towns, farms, and trade routes emerged. However, this expansion also brought conflict with many Native American communities, who were forced from their ancestral lands. In 1848, gold was discovered in California. News of the discovery spread around the world, triggering the California Gold Rush. Hundreds of thousands of people traveled west in search of fortune, accelerating economic growth and population expansion. At the same time, factories, railroads, and new inventions transformed the American economy. The Industrial Revolution created jobs, boosted production, and connected distant regions through transportation and trade. Yet the nation remained deeply divided over slavery. Northern and southern states disagreed on its future, and political tensions grew more intense with each passing year. In 1861, these tensions erupted into the American Civil War. It became the deadliest conflict in the nation's history. President Abraham Lincoln believed that preserving the Union was essential. During the war, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring freedom for enslaved people in Confederate territories. After 4 years of brutal fighting, the Union emerged victorious in 1865. The United States remained united, slavery was abolished, and the country entered a new era of industrial and economic development. The Civil War left deep scars, but it also strengthened the foundations of a nation that would soon become one of the world's leading powers. When the Civil War ended in 1865, the United States entered a period of rapid transformation. Instead of rebuilding only what had been lost, the country began creating one of the world's largest industrial economies. Thousands of miles of railroad tracks connected the East Coast to the West Coast. Goods, people, and ideas could now move across the nation faster than ever before. Railroads became the backbone of American commerce. At the same time, powerful entrepreneurs built industries that changed the economy. Andrew Carnegie expanded the steel industry, making steel more affordable for bridges, railroads, and skyscrapers. John D. Rockefeller developed Standard Oil into one of the largest companies of its era, helping fuel transportation and manufacturing. New inventions transformed everyday life. Thomas Edison helped popularize electric lighting and improved power systems. Alexander Graham Bell's telephone changed communication. Factories adopted new machines that increased production and lowered costs. Millions of immigrants arrived from Europe seeking opportunity. They worked in factories, mines, and construction, contributing to the country's growing workforce and expanding cities. New York emerged as a major financial center, while cities such as Chicago, Pittsburgh, and Detroit became symbols of industrial growth. Banks, businesses, and stock markets expanded alongside manufacturing. By the early 20th century, the United States had become one of the world's largest industrial economies. Its factories produced enormous quantities of steel, machinery, consumer goods, and agricultural equipment. This economic strength gave America increasing influence around the world. It also prepared the nation for the global events that were about to reshape international politics forever. The next great test would come with the outbreak of the First World War. In 1914, Europe was engulfed in a devastating conflict that would become known as the First World War. Powerful nations formed alliances, and within months, much of the continent was at war. At first, the United States remained neutral. President Woodrow Wilson believed America should stay out of the fighting while continuing trade with many countries. However, the situation changed. German submarine attacks on ships and the Zimmermann telegram increased tensions. In April 1917, the United States declared war on Germany and entered the conflict. Although America joined later than many other countries, its impact was significant. Fresh troops, industrial production, and financial resources strengthened the Allied powers at a critical moment. American factories produced weapons, vehicles, food, and supplies on a massive scale. The country's economy expanded rapidly as demand for industrial goods increased. In November 1918, the war ended with an Allied victory. Europe had suffered enormous destruction, while the United States emerged with a stronger economy and greater international influence. American banks had provided loans to several allied nations, and the US dollar became increasingly important in global finance. Businesses expanded into international markets, and the country's economic influence continued to grow. Although the years that followed brought new economic challenges, including the Great Depression, the United States had already established itself as one of the world's leading economic and industrial powers. Soon, another global conflict would reshape the balance of power once again, and this time, America would emerge stronger than ever before. In 1939, the world was once again plunged into war. Germany, under Adolf Hitler, invaded Poland, triggering the Second World War. Soon, Europe, Africa, and Asia were engulfed in the deadliest conflict in human history. At first, the United States remained officially neutral. However, America supported allied nations by supplying weapons, equipment, and financial aid through the Lend-Lease program. Everything changed on December 7, 1941. Japan launched a surprise attack on the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. Thousands of American service members and civilians were killed or wounded, and much of the Pacific Fleet was damaged. The following day, the United States declared war on Japan. Germany and Italy then declared war on the United States, bringing America fully into World War II. The country's industrial power shifted into full production. Factories manufactured aircraft, tanks, ships, trucks, and ammunition at an unprecedented scale. Millions of men and women contributed to the war effort, both on the battlefield and at home. In June 1944, Allied forces launched the D-Day landings in Normandy, France. It became one of the largest amphibious military operations in history and marked a major turning point in the European campaign. Meanwhile, American scientists worked on the secret Manhattan Project, which led to the development of the world's first nuclear weapons. In August 1945, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These events caused immense destruction and loss of life. Shortly afterward, Japan announced its surrender, bringing World War II to an end. The war transformed the global balance of power. Much of Europe and Asia faced severe devastation, while the United States emerged with a strong industrial economy, expanded military capabilities, and growing international influence. In the years that followed, the United States played a central role in establishing the United Nations, supporting post-war reconstruction, and helping shape a new international financial system. The country had become one of the world's leading superpowers. World War II had ended, but peace did not bring an end to global rivalry. Instead, a new struggle began, one that would shape international politics for nearly half a century. On one side stood the United States. On the other was the Soviet Union. Their competition became known as the Cold War. Although the two superpowers never fought each other directly on a large battlefield, they competed through military strength, technology, intelligence, economics, and influence around the world. In 1949, the United States and its allies formed the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. The alliance was created to strengthen collective defense and deter future aggression in Europe. The Cold War also sparked the space race. In 1969, NASA's Apollo 11 mission successfully landed the first humans on the Moon, marking one of the most significant technological achievements in history. During the following decades, the American economy continued to expand. Silicon Valley became a global center for innovation. Companies such as Apple, Microsoft, Google, and later many others transformed personal computing, the internet, smartphones, and artificial intelligence. In 1991, the Soviet Union dissolved, bringing the Cold War to an end. The United States emerged as the world's only superpower, with unmatched military reach, economic influence, and technological leadership. Today, America remains one of the world's most influential nations. It leads in many areas of science, higher education, finance, entertainment, and innovation. At the same time, it faces new challenges, including strategic competition with China, rapid advances in artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, climate issues, and changing global alliances. The story of America is still being written. Its future will depend on how it responds to these challenges and opportunities in the decades ahead. From 13 colonies on the Atlantic coast to one of the world's most influential nations, America's rise has been shaped by determination, innovation, conflict, and transformation. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more stories that explain the world.